Hi guys, I'm excited to be with you again. In one of the videos on the business side, I explained to you the use of social media for marketing purposes. So for zero cost, a kind of reverse engineering. Social media normally is using you, and in that case, you were using the social media in order to draw attention and customers to your product. Now here I want to outline that this is not something which has been hidden from the bad guys, but the bad guys also knew how to attract the consumers to their goods, to purchase their goods. Now, with regard to the e-commerce, during the e-commerce is now, 20 years old, 20-something years old. Now, in the beginning of the e-commerce, it was easier in order to put fake products on. In the meantime, as I outlined in another video, it was the e-commerce giants, the big ones, which by government pressure came to implement some proceedings which makes it easier for complainant to get rid of counterfeit products on the platform, or which imposes some kind of obligation of verification, supervision of the platform, what is placed on the platform with regard to counterfeit goods. And if they are too lenient, then that would create a kind of responsibility of the platform for publishing counterfeit goods. Now, these proceedings have been implemented. Alibaba in the beginning, they had some 8%, Amazon as well, they had some 8% of counterfeit goods on their platform. But over time, with regard to the implementation of the proceedings, so this has been very much reduced. And it is still there, right? It is not on these main platforms, but on other platforms which are starting out. So with the starting out, there is always some kind of problems at the beginning. Now, with regard to the implementation of these kind of measures, the fake industry, the bad guys, they looked for different channels in order to promote their goods. The demand is still there. The supply has to follow the demand. So there must be new channels in order to satisfy the demand, so to say. And the social media was a target, from the very beginning, and it has become more a target once the traditional e-commerce platforms were more, so to say, secure. Now, what happens with these social media? We want to know. There are some studies out there. One is from Share and Make Share from the UK IP office, and another is from Social Media, a discussion platform, which is from EU IPO from June 2021. The other was from 2017 already. Now, what have they found? They have found that some 8% of the chats on the platforms, and that was namely focused on Facebook, 8% of the chats were rather with suspicious content with regard to the fake goods, counterfeit goods. With regard to closed groups, the suspicion of trade in fake goods were increased by some fivefold, so 41% of the content of closed groups were suspicious to have counterfeit background. So this is more, and 80%, there's another 80% or 88%, so a rather high percentage, were not deceived with regard to the products, but rather they knew they would buy due to the whatever it was, the description, or the price, they knew that they would buy fake products. On the other hand, there is not much deep and detailed background on what happens on the different social media. There are a lot of them, right? You have the starting with Facebook, but we have YouTube, you have Reddit, you have Snap, you have Weibo, you have Twitter, you have, well, a pyramid, many websites existing with regard to social media, and the functioning is a bit different in each of them. Now, how do they deal with social media? They either look to make some fan sites, fan groups with regard to certain products, and attract people which are interested in these goods to these fan sites, and promote their goods on these fan sites or special topic sites with regard to certain products or certain pirated services, pirated content, and they would attract the most of people to these kind of discussions or so, and then put from time to time, if there's something, they would put it there that this is the link to the pirated content, or this is the link to the counterfeit website or whatever, and with these possibilities to attract a lot of purchase from potential customers. The detection is not easy because it is more often than not a combination of websites. As I said before, it may well be that the first attraction, so we say the hook, would be that social media website, but the actual transaction, the payment, and so on, and the description of the goods, etc., the pictures, that would be on a different website. So it is not on the social media, but it is only used the social media as a hook, and then everything else would be done on a different website. So this is quite difficult for enforcement authorities to look at. Now, what can you do as businesses when you are in this situation? Well, the first thing is, congratulations. Congratulations to you if you are able to detect this kind of infringing content on the social media. That is not an easy task. You may want, if it is in closed groups where it is even more difficult to detect from these websites to go into, if on these websites you want or you have suspicion that your products are there, so to say, offered to the potential public, then what you want to do is to look for an invitation to get into the group and have control over the content, right? That would be one of the best of the cases. Otherwise, what you can do is, if you see content on the websites, to make a corresponding complaint, and the website may take down then the corresponding, either the address or whatever it is, on the website, on the platform. Now, ideally, these platforms, they have a kind of preemptive action, like it is, for example, this video is uploaded to YouTube, and then on YouTube, once the uploading process starts, they are telling me that they're looking for copyright infringement, etc., for things which may have counterfeit goods, etc. So there is a certain filter, a certain control from the beginning with regard to the platform. So they have a kind of due diligence to filter out from the beginning those who are obviously promoting fake content. On the other hand, the websites also, those which are quite serious, like YouTube, for example, if you want to have an address and open an account, etc., they would ask for certain verification of the person who is behind, etc. And once they detect some problems with regard to that person, then that person would be banned, and would be banned also for another opening of an account with regard to future infringement. So they would be under strong suspicion or stronger surveillance from the website. Now, these are things which can be preemptively done, or which is preemptively done by the platform. But what you can do is also take contact with the platform, and they have some IP department within the platform, and they would be able to get to know your brand and your experience with regard to counterfeiters, so they could incorporate their research with regard to the artificial intelligence tool which they have running in the background. They would then detect it easier and take down earlier, which would avoid a lot of headache of you to go, to go behind, to have to look at all the websites, what is ongoing with regard to your product. Okay, so it goes further. You may have heard of influencers. So influencers are a kind of guys who have a lot of followers, millions of followers, and who can move the market. So for these kind of influencers, they may get $60,000. So I repeat, $60,000 for promising to make 3 or 4 tweets with regard to a certain product. So the Kardashians or the Paris Hilton may come to your mind, but there are large others, rappers or whatever, who have a different approach with regard to its followers. They are not so well known due to its movie character or in the in social media. They have a different approach, and they have a lot of followers. So 60,000 for 4 tweets. I would do that as well. So a lot of young people who are in college now, if you ask them, what do you want to be? It is not anymore policeman. When I was young, I wanted to be policeman, to have power, etc. No, they want to be YouTuber, or they want to be influencers now in order to make 4 tweets and get $60,000. Now, what happens with this is the influencers, they may be approached by the bad guys and making a promotion of the fake site, of the counterfeit goods. This may be willingly, or it may be non-willingly. More willingly, I would say, than non-willingly, because the competition of the influencers is high as well, and it is not anymore one person. It is in the thousands probably, the influencers, and so they need to make a competitive screening as well, and admit sometimes things which are not so legitimate. So in that case, it would be easier to go after them. Probably they know this is not the legitimate product, so it would be easier to go after them. But influencers as well make a lot of difference on the internet with regard to these counterfeit measures. Now that was it in general. So I have 8 videos or so on the counterfeiting industry, the piracy industry, the extortion industry, and I think I made an overview. You should give me your comments if you want another video on something else, What I would like to do is to end up with an opinion piece on the piracy issue. Often there are people who would say, well, if internet is free, that must be free. I don't know why to pay for it. And an opinion piece would be good. So see you next.